So hi everyone, I think we're going to get started. We have a half an hour, so there's a lot that Christopher wants to show you. So I think we're going to go pretty quick. So just as intros, I'm Eric Johnson. I run a small engineering team out in Google Cloud up in Seattle. And we work on doing open source integrations for GCP. And I'll talk a little bit more about how that fits in with Cloud Foundry.
I'm Christopher Grant, architect at Home Depot, homedepot.com. And we've been working on Google Cloud and Cloud Foundry as well.
So do we click a button?
Yeah.
So how many people were at the keynote this morning and heard Jay Marshall and James Waters talking? Cool, awesome. So I won't spend a lot of time on this. I think that he did a really good job of kind of covering sort of like Google's innovative technologies and how as you, if you're running Cloud Foundry on top of Google Cloud Platform, you sort of get advantage of a lot of that infrastructure and software innovation that Google has done throughout the years. So it's a lot of, you get advantage of some of the networking and the same architecture and infrastructure that we use to power YouTube and Gmail and Google Maps. Google Compute Engine, so primarily Cloud Foundry is going to sit on top of virtual machines. So Google has a compute engine, and we've got several features here, and I think I'll come back to this a little bit. So hopefully the slide's recorded. If you're interested, you can go back and take a look at this later. But I'll talk about some of that down the road. For integration with Pivotal Cloud Foundry, we've been working on BOSH for the CPI so that you can actually provision GCE virtual machines, leverages our networking. I've got a link to the CPI right there that you can go ahead and get started. I think you want to slide over or something?
I think we can.
Oh, right. So I ripped this off of Vic yesterday. Did anybody go to the talk yesterday that Vic and Jay Marshall gave? Okay, a couple of people.
Vic, you went to the talk. That's
Vic.
a good thing.
So what Vic demoed yesterday was effectively a multi-region Cloud Foundry installation behind Google's load balancers. And so what you see up here on the screen is we've got FR as a forwarding rule, target pools, those are basically resources of GCE load balancer that sit in front of two different deployments of Cloud Foundry. Each that has its own director, it's got the Diego Brain, your applications, the Go router, and then the infrastructure that we have set up for you to get started with Cloud Foundry sort of spins a lot of this up on your own, on its own for you.
So now you're supposed to be asking, well, what does Home Depot have to do with all this? So really, so first of all, how many of you are using Spring? Or should I say, how many of you are coding Java? All right.
.NET?
.NET?
Sorry.
How many of you are using Cloud Foundry today? Is that a little bit more than half? That's good. That's good. And then how many of you are using Google today? All right.
Oh, nice.
A quarter-ish? Good.
Using Google to search all the time.
All right. To search, right? So we're actually using all of that. So we're using Spring. We've got Cloud Foundry internally. And by the way, if you're interested, stick around for the session after this. We're going to go into a little bit more on what Home Depot is doing with Cloud Foundry specifically. And then we're also using Google for some of our stack as well. So when we heard what these guys were doing with Pivotal and they were getting everything running, we thought that was going to be really cool. It was like the best of all worlds. We got the peanut butter, we got the chocolate. Let's dig in with the Reese cup, right? So basically, what we thought we'd do is kind of walk you through a little bit of what we saw. So if you wanted to check this out, all this stuff is on GitHub. Just search for the BOSH CPI if you want to Google search it. You can just Google search for BOSH CPI. And CPI is the Cloud Platform Interface?
Provider,
Cloud Provider Interface.
Yeah.
So it's in the Cloud Foundry incubator. So we heard what these guys were doing, and we just kind of followed along with the GitHub repo at first. And this is actually a lot better off than when we started with it. They have been doing so much work on here. You can see that they've got all these different variations and versions out there. The important stuff is really this BOSH director portion of it. And you can click on this link here and actually just follow the instructions in here. So as you scroll through here, you see there's a ton of stuff. And this is one of the examples we're going to do today, which is the Bastion server and the director. They got all of the steps in here. You can read through and do these all. And then at the bottom here is the second portion of it. And we'll do, I got a diagram later that explains some of this. But Once you get the director installed, then it's the actual Cloud Foundry install itself. And that, again, kind of walks through all the steps on there. So we went through this, and it was pretty easy to follow, step by step, and paint by numbers type thing. And so we actually got this up and running. So Nikesh Patel down here for front row, there you go. He was helping me a lot with this and got the Store Finder app up and running for us. So we actually took this and actually dropped it on Cloud Foundry. So this is actually running on Cloud Foundry on Google today, live right here. And so we can actually do, see, Las Vegas. Let's pick something here. And we actually get store information, and it's actually zooming in to that information. We can zoom in and actually see what's going on. So this is live, and we can actually see the, what is it, locator? Another one we got out here, which is locatorlabs.com. And this, oops, I forgot to put in the extra information. So this is the actual API. So we actually have 2 apps running, a client app and a service app running. It's actually bringing back the data right now on this particular foundation. Another one that we can take a look at is the, what is it? What is it? Spring1.labs. Oh, okay. Well, I guess I appeased the demo gods with that one. So let's go ahead and fix that one. So really what I wanted to do here was show you that we don't actually have something running on that right now. So we've got this set up, and you can, from a developer standpoint, integrate with SDS just like you would with your standard environment. This happens to be running in Google. So when you open up SDS, they come with this, yeah, there we go. They come with the pivotal options right in there already, and you can go in and add a new server in here, and the default for adding a new server is the PWS install, and it's easy to change that if you want. So we did that here, and we actually are connected to our Labs account here, and if that might be hard to see, you can see we've got in this particular Store Finder org and space, we've got this Store Finder app. We also have this other app called Perf Inspector. So I've got at the top here, I've got a out-of-the-box standard Hello World application, and it's been a while since I actually coded, so I'm not going to do too much coding in this one. But I'll just change a couple things here just to make sure that it's actually running. So we'll call this Spring 1. We'll save that. So what's nice about this, I don't know, how many of you guys are using STS today? Okay, good. So what's nice is that this will actually set up, I can just drag and drop on here, and it'll allow me to walk through the actual setup process. I don't have to create the manifest. I don't have to code it by hand. It'll actually go through if it's going to be nice to me. Let's try that one more time.
I think in the lower right it's doing.
Oh, is it doing that again?
Yeah.
It's because I'm on the Wi-Fi. I told you. I
forgot to
didn't
do the
plug in.
LAN.
All right, so
Okay.
here we go. Well, yeah, but I didn't plug it.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll risk it.
That's what they said in the keynote. This is the messy part, right? This is the messy part. So I'm going to leave this optional. We just click next. I'm going to give this a name of Spring 1. And then my deployed URL will be Spring 1. And if I just finish, you'll see that this is actually going out and deploying right now to that instance. I don't have to mess with domains. I don't have to do anything. So it's deploying my application right away. So what's nice about this is that we get to take all the skills that our team currently has. They're doing this internally inside our data center. They're deploying apps. They're using the services. They're using the service packs, service brokers, and they're able to actually come out and start to do some of that in the cloud. So I think, so you guys are planning some stuff with service brokers as well, right?
Right. So I think if we flip over, we may have a slide or two. So I guess it was a couple months ago now, I went to Pivotal's Industry Days, and they have a partner engineering team that was set up there to kind of walk partners through how to get sort of involved in the broader Pivotal marketplace. So one of the things we sat down and is tried to hack together sort of a service broker that would expose all of Google Cloud services to use, or for application developers running on Cloud Foundry. So what I've got here is a screenshot of sort of early days. This is OpsMan. would be a screenshot of OpsMan. So there's a tile that's available to you if you're using the Pivotal Cloud Foundry distribution. You could click on, I should say, it will be available by the end of the year. So when you click on that, what will end up happening is it exposes a catalog in the marketplace. So again, if you're running Pivotal Cloud Foundry, you could use Apps Manager to then see all of the Google Cloud services exposed to your application developers. And so it would be effectively the same thing as typing CF Marketplace, which I had done here. And you can see that we've got a few services that we started working on and prototyping. One of the engineers on my team is developing this. We've been working closely with Pivotal folks up in the Toronto office. Is anybody from Pivotal Toronto office here? Excellent. I need to meet you. Anyone else? Okay, great. So this is an example again of how you would sort of bind a service for your application or create a service and then bind to a service using Google services.
Cool.
Oh, you want to leave that up? Sorry.
Yeah. So that was a little filler while this finished deploying. It didn't take too long, but so what's nice though is you can see now that we actually have this deployment over here on the side, and if I zoom in a little bit, you can actually right-click on this and say Open Homepage, and it'll actually bring up the actual app on spring1.labs.homedepot.com. So
I don't know. Like it worked, right?
I know.
Wi-Fi.
That's my awesome coding skills too, right?
Yeah, right.
So there's a couple other nice things in here, though. You can actually open up these the information about the application itself. And right from within here, you can actually scale up multiple instances. So I clicked that to 2, and you can see that it's actually created the container right there. And then we can actually inspect over here on the right and see that, yep, indeed, we've got the 2 Store Finder and Perf Inspector that we talked about before. But also now we have 2 of these Spring 1. Let me increase it to 3. And then I may have to refresh this. And we should have, let me refresh this. And we should have 3 here. And so there we go, 3. So right from within this console, you can actually go and work with the Cloud Foundry install on Google, and you don't actually have to leave the comfort of your IDE, which is great. One of the other nice things in here is, so we just talked about the service brokers. So those would show up in the services section here. Once you have your setup, you can change the memory. You can actually just click Save here to the manifest. And oh, I think I already have one. And it'll actually create this manifest here, whatever you have configured. That way you could check that back into GitHub and have that for other revisions and other deployments elsewhere. So one of the other things, let's actually bring it up here, just refresh to make sure. There we go. See, I fixed it. So let's see. One of the other things we did is we've actually got this integrated with the Google Cloud logging. So I was going to bring that up right here.
Now you're really daring the demo guys.
I know, right? This is kind of ad hoc. Logging, here we go. So what's nice is our systems teams are working with the Google platform right now. So when we talked about bringing Cloud Foundry into this, we really wanted to kind of integrate with their current pattern. So we've actually got all of the Cloud Foundry logs going directly into cloud logging, which is great because now they get to actually have the same pattern that they have today with the new Cloud Foundry stuff. So we've satisfied some of the developer needs as well as some of the ops needs on that. And then, as Eric was saying, once they get some of the additional service broker things, we're going to be able to offer, Cloud SQL and BigQuery and some of those things that the teams are already using.
So just to clarify, this is probably just a question for me, but I'll ask in front of everyone. When you're talking about the logs that are being surfaced in here, this is the Cloud Foundry logs as well as application logs, right?
That is correct. So, and the application, so this is also, and I'll show you this in a second, this is all like kind of work in progress stuff. So we just wanted to get some of this roughed out. But if I do a search in here, these REP entries, I would have to find them. Now I'm not. This is tempting the demo gods. But
a good
in
thing
here,
you're a gambling man.
right?
Yeah.
In Vegas, right?
Right.
But in here is you'll find some of those application logs too. So one of the things we wanted to do is kind of clean that up. These are also all coming back with the same info level, and we would want to actually do these as error and debug as well. And I'll show you where that code is in our repository here in a second. So that's actually a good segue. So the next part of this is great. So how do I try this at home, right? So we did this. We've got this running on Labs, but we've got this CPI thing. We can show that. What I wanted to show is the setup process, though. So I showed you that CPI thing. I'll bring it up again. there was a lot of stuff in there. And honestly, I am not a copy paste kind of guy. So we ran through this, hundreds of times, and it kind of got annoying to copy and paste these every time we wanted to run this. So we redid this ourselves, and basically took all of the things that are in here and put them in our own little script. So I'm going to show you how you can do this at home. So we'll go to cloud.google.com, and I'll actually kick this off in the background here.
I think Vic is probably bookmarking this page. He's like, I wished I would have known about this sooner.
So what I wanted to show also is this one of the other tools that Google offers. It's called Google Cloud Shell. What's nice is that from anywhere you can actually log in to a instance, your own instance. And this is Cloud Shell right here. And you can maintain the state of your home directory. So right here I've actually got some stuff listed in here. You can see I've got some actual setup files that I stored earlier. So I'm actually going to go into the files. Whoops. And I'll show you this on the GitHub site in a second. But basically, I'm going to run this all setup process. And that's it. So this process is going to run. Literally, there's nothing else for me to do. There's 2 steps in here that I have to do. I have to put in a username and password at one point, and I have to type the word yes at one point. And then this runs. So yeah, so this is taking a little while. So let's actually just speed this up. So if we speed it up, this is what it looks like all sped up. This is the same project. I did this earlier, just a lot faster.
So I guess if Google is so fast, why did you have to speed up the video?
Well, that's a good question. So when we talk about spinning up a single VM, that's one thing. But what we're actually doing here is we're standing up the whole entire package. So we've got the Bastion server that we're standing up, and we've got the BOSH director, cloud platform, and then all these things on the right are all the bits and pieces that are actually being stood up as well. It has to download them, compile them. This is the entire platform, and one of the things that we try to do is kind of get rid of the headache of having to type all those commands in. So yeah, it still takes a little while to download that stuff and do that, but it's pretty much automated now. So instead of waiting for this thing to run through, we actually have a pre-baked image. This is like when you're watching those cooking shows and they put it in the oven and they take it. It's like, fast
3
forward,
hours later,
right?
yeah.
So we did that same exact thing, and we have a fresh install on a project called, guess what? SpringOne Oven, because we're pulling it out of the oven. Delicious. It is. It's tasty.
You all get to have a sample later, too.
So I wanted to kind of walk you through here a little bit on what actually happened in that process. So if we go into the compute engine section, you'll see a couple things. You'll see that it actually spun up 20-some instances. And then another nice feature of Google is it'll actually tell you, because I'm not actually using these for anything, that I've over-provisioned these. So I've got these 20-some instances stood up. I'm going to run over to the networking section, if I would stop clicking the wrong button. And you'll see here it actually created the CF network for us. It created sub-networks for us. I've got one just for BOSH. It also pulled the static IP. It created a static IP just for Cloud Foundry. That's what Eric was talking about earlier in his diagram. It's got the different IP addresses. So we're actually going to use this specific IP here in a second. That's where we would go to get that. Set up the routes and a couple other things. So this setup that is on that GitHub site uses a service called zip.io. Did I say that right?
I think so.
I've been calling it
xip.io?
Yeah, xip.io.
The hipsters call it zip.io, yeah.
So basically what it does is it takes an IP address and makes it look like a domain. So what we're going to do here is we're actually going to log into that Bastion server. So, You guys see my awesome typing skills. Did I do that right? Which server am I on here?
So I guess while Chris is
Debugging.
he's debugging live. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was sort of like our involvement with Pivotal over about the past 6 months, I'd say. We started working with Pivotal to make sure that Google would be a really good cloud provider, right? Underlying platform for that. So as part of that, we picked up some work that one of the Pivotal, like super famous, I think, Pivotal engineers, Farron Rodinas. Does anybody know Farron? Ferdy on GitHub? Okay, a couple of people. So Ferdy had actually prototyped a lot of this work. We picked it up for about the last 4 months. Like I said, we've been working on that. We've got the CPI in really good shape now. We are running our own concourse that's on top of Pivotal Cloud Foundry, on top of GCP. We're using that to build our CPI as well as the stem cells for our GCE. We're also talking to Pivotal about transitioning a lot of that over to Bosch.io. So probably within the next several months, you're going to see a lot of more surfacing of GCP through the Pivotal ecosystem. So again, we're also working on service brokers and things like that. It's been a really true engineering partnership, I'd say. We've Evan Brown on my team and I have gone down and spent some time in San Francisco pairing actually with the engineers. We've worked with several teams within Pivotal. Everybody there is phenomenal. Google doesn't do the pair programming, so it can be a little bit of a challenge for us to sit down and kind of work with somebody side by side. We're not used to that. So what we did was when we kind of split up and went our separate ways, we would keep sort of pairing sessions where we would just VC and kind of work together and work through issues and have questions back and forth. So all in all, it's been a fabulous relationship, and Pivotal's been a very good partner for us.
So the issue that I had, this was a nice little happy conversation. So I was actually still logged into the Spring One project, and I actually needed to log in with Cloud Shell to the Spring One oven project. So simple mistake. Yeah, so anyways, so now we've got access. You see I logged in with this zip.io address, same way you would normally do it. But you'll see in here is the actual IP address that we saw on that other page. So we'll do... So now I've actually got a couple things pre-set up in here. What we're actually going to do is we're going to deploy a sample app that we have sitting here and kind of demo one more thing. So the idea here is that we're able to do this from the command line as well. And this particular app has got a couple things in it that we were going to show off. Was there? Oh yeah. So the other thing we want to talk about is at this point. So there was a bug in this process here. When we were setting this up with the zip.io, there was a couple other things that we saw. So in the actual Cloud Foundry install, the way that zip.io does is it actually has to resolve a couple things. And we saw that there were some timeout issues that were happening during that process. If you have that issue, just go ahead and restart the deploy. The timeout will go away. The other thing is the SSL certs in here. The way that Java works, what was it? It was star by default.
Yeah, the wildcard certs.
The wildcard, yeah. So the Java in your IDE with STS couldn't use the default one. So we've got some instructions on the GitHub site. And actually, let me bring that up for you. So this automated script that I was talking about is actually on our Home Depot site. If you go to GitHub and you find Home Depot. It's called Setup Cloud Foundry on Google. It's a crazy name, I know. No clue. Here's the walkthrough that we talked about. But basically, all you do is you clone down the repo, you CD in the directory, and you do the all setup. So the only thing that might be of note is if you want to change some of the parameters, you'd go into this CF setup script here, and you can put in your own certs. If you want, you can change the number of instances, if I can see correctly, that are running in here. So you can actually customize this manifest on your own. And again, I wanted to call out Nikesh Patel for helping do most of the work on this. So thank you on that. I think Yeah, good. We should, we're deployed now, so let's take a look at that. So I'll run CF Apps. And you'll see I've got the inspect application running on that zip.io. And if I run that, I should get the application. So there you go. So we stood up a new project and we deployed an application. And if I do this right, it should actually correctly ping the other one that we just set up in this demo. If I hit submit. So there you go. So this is what's interesting about this. So if you notice, we got 41 milliseconds here as a response time from the one application we deployed to the other application we deployed. So what's interesting about this is that this one that we stood up here, this foundation, is actually in the west region, and the labs foundation is actually in the central region. So the latency between those is literally just 40 milliseconds. Actually less than that because some of that is a processing time. So we talked about, Jay talked about the Google Fiber before, and this is just an example of how fast that network is. So when you talk about HA, you talk about some of that stuff. This is why some of that's going to be reality for you. So, and that is the power of Cloud Foundry on Google Cloud.
Awesome. So a couple things just to wrap up really quickly. We've got starting the free trial starter credits, so you get $300 for good up to 60 days. So if nobody has tried Google Cloud yet, you can give that a try. We also have links to the Bosch CPI, so again, the READMEs. We should actually link over to your stuff too. I think that would be a good idea. So there's multiple ways for you to kind of get started up and running with PCF on top of GCP. And I think we're pretty much in good shape. Yeah, so we could probably take, I think, 3 questions. Yes, sir.
So what was your motivation to try all this in the first place? In the sense that was it you wanted Cloud Foundry, or you were trying to see the Cloud Foundry working on Google platform?
Right.
And what is your strategic direction? Were you evaluating clouds?
So the question was, what was our motivation for trying this in the first place? So we started on Google, you know, the HomeDepot.com website. We're doing some work with Google Cloud right now. And our enterprise team is doing some work with Cloud Foundry internally. And we heard that they were doing this, and we actually wanted to partner with them so that we could take some of the guys that were working internally and take some of that skills and that talent and those practices that Pivotal's been talking about and apply that to the work that we're doing in Google as well. So it actually ended up being kind of the best of all worlds. We get to use some of the data stuff that Google's doing as well as some of the stuff that Pivotal brings to the table. Over here?
Next. Oh, over here.
What about integrating with private corporate networks, like making that instance private, not public?
So the question was, what about making integrating with your data center, making things public and private, and that's actually a good enterprise level conversation that we've been going back and forth on a lot. There's a lot of great things that Google's coming up with to help with that conversation. Honestly, we haven't gotten into that yet with the Cloud Foundry platform. We know what we want to do and how to do it with the Google platform itself. And in the next a couple months, we're going to be exploring how to do that specifically with Cloud Foundry. So,
Is there a way to follow information?
yeah, I probably the Bosch CPI site is a good one. And then go ahead and add comments on that the setup script, and we'll follow up with you.
Thank you.
I'll let you.
Evaluated any other cloud providers before making a decision?
Yeah, actually, we went through and we evaluated all the cloud providers, and part of our strategy is to utilize all of the resources that are available. There's things that are coming out now that weren't out before. There's stuff that's going to be coming out in the future that we don't know about, and that's actually one of the reasons why we wanted to go with some of these tools like Cloud Foundry, is to be able to keep our options open. I'm an architect, background, and change is going to happen. And so really we wanted to see how can we start with something today, something that's great, and prepare for the future on some of this stuff. So, all right.
I think we could take other questions. I just don't have any more Chromecasts to give out.
I think we're actually out of time on
Oh,
that.
are we?
Can,
Okay.
we can take more in the hall. So,
Yep, we'll be around.
great. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.